Hi.
Hello.
Yarns.
Introduce yourselves.
I'm Fairleigh Gilmour.
And I am David Bennett, and we are, I guess you'd say, the co-organisers of Save Dunedin live music.
Can you give me a highlight reel of the current action plan that's been adopted by the council?
So, I love talking about planning. I'm the planning nerd from Save Dunedin Live Music, so I'm really excited that we're going to see acoustic installation changes as part of Variation 3 of the district plan. It's a bit wordy. What it means is that when apartments are now being built in the inner city, so ones that will be near live music venues, they have to insulate more in order to protect the residents from live music. It actually is only bringing us up to speed with other cities because Dunedin was not requiring new residential apartments to do that level of insulation that it's expected if you want to have a vibrant city. So it's bringing us up to speed with other cities. The other thing that I find really exciting is that exploring entertainment precincts is listed in the plan. That's one of the things that's recommended in the Styles report. So when we first asked to do this plan, when we went before council and asked for a small amount of funding to put a plan together, we organised and worked with the council to have an independent expert look at the planning situation in Dunedin and to give recommendations based on what other cities do about what could work for us to best prioritise live music in terms of planning. And one of the things suggested in that report is to look at things like entertainment precincts, and that would mean specific areas in our city where we prioritise live music and entertainment over other uses. So yeah, exploring that, I was really happy to see that on there.
I think the things that are big highlights for me is the establishing of a specific live music funding pool, which is a separate funding pool aimed at live music venues to be accessible to help them meet their regulatory requirements and to minimise land use conflict between music venues and their neighbours. It also help to bring them into having safer and more accessible venues for the music community. I believe another big one was the council's commitment to explore finding what DCC resources potentially can be used as permanent rehearsal rooms. If you take, for example, something like the Fortune that the council owns, the idea that that could one day become a rehearsal space or a dedicated rehearsal and music or artistic hub, something like that. I find that very exciting. Also, the commitment to better support the use of our green spaces for outdoor music festivals and to look at a number of factors around that in terms of accessing them, resource consenting them, and some of the concession licenses and fees that are put upon these festivals that make them financially unviable in Dunedin, and finding a way to minimise all of that to bring bigger festivals and better shows to the people of Dunedin.
Yeah, so rather than, right now there's kind of a few barriers to putting a lot of shows and festivals on in Dunedin, and rather than having that kind of framework, this is a commitment to actually incentivise people to bring in, more shows and more things that are, exciting for the community. I also think one thing that was really great to see was the commitment to have options about a mid-sized venue as part of the long-term plan. So that's not a guarantee that anything's going to happen, but it's a guarantee that we're going to get the opportunity to submit on it and to try and argue for something that really works for the music community. So that was really cool too.
And there's a number of other big things in there. There's a lot of stuff around access and career pathways and funding. Pretty much a lot of the plan is a highlight, but for us, I think those ones that we hit there are the main ones that we really enjoy on the plan.
Sounds awesome. So what can the music and also the wider community do in the coming months to help the plan progress?
So first up, we're going to be organising a music community hui to discuss the plan. So one of the next things that the council are doing are making a more readable version of the plan, because currently we just have the less community-facing version, so that will be easier to engage with and read. And once that's out, we wanted to get people together, and some of the council people will come along too to discuss like what this means and what we can best do to get the most out of it. The other thing is ensuring that the options before the long-term plan are ones that are meaningful to us. We have to work on that in advance. We have to ensure that we're heard about what's meaningful to the music community. So SDLM will keep working on that, but we have to just make sure our voice is really heard. Finally, some of these decisions only happen if there's strong political will from our elected representatives. There's only going to be a variation of the district plan, for example, that specifically looks at music, looks at things like an entertainment precinct, if our elected council think that that's a priority. So we have to be noisy enough that that becomes a priority. Also go to gigs.
Yeah, go to gigs. Yeah, plan for noise.